stand certified deer stalker. But right now I'm busting my ass on this 9 to 5. But you better believe when the season's change. If it's brown, it's down. If it flies, it dies. If you're gonna hunt, you gotta do it right. Shotgun or rifle, you ready to go. Camo and ammo, that's my motto.
Welcome everybody once again to Camo and Ammo right here on UndefinedRadio.com. We appreciate everybody tuning in as you do every week to UndefinedRadio.com. With you as always is your hosts, Chad Martin and
David Dawkins.
There you go. We are back. Hope you enjoyed last week's show. We were talking about our duck hunt, our big duck hunt back in Texas.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
A lot of fun. That was in Red River County, my old, where I actually grew up, where my family's at. We went with a family member hunting on that trip.
Yep.
Had a lot of fun. So if you missed that episode, go back in our archives. Our archives are being updated. We have a whole new cool little thing right now, so you'll be able to go to, you're actually going to be able to go to iTunes and the Google Play Store,
Right.
both those places, download our show every week, so you can download Camo and Ammo. That's coming pretty soon. Right now, you still have to go to the website, listen to the archives, but that change is coming. It's coming pretty quickly. Waiting on a few artwork things to get done, but once that happens, you're going to see this up and running. It's going to be really cool. It's going to help those of you out who want to take the show with you on the road, wherever you're at. Even if you don't have cell service, when you're out scouting locations, maybe on
You'll
your
be able
hunts,
to download it.
you'll be able to download it, and that's pretty awesome. And as always, we appreciate our sponsors out there, especially Downrange Calls, who supply the calls for the hunt we went on, that you'll be able to hear. You'll be able to hear Tyler and Hunter out there blowing on those calls, calling ducks in, baiting them in. But speaking of baiting, this is what we're going to talk about. This is the episode because this is you live in Alabama.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, back home there now.
And this is your home, and right now that's where you're staying at.
Right.
But this is a pretty sore point for you. When I say a sore point, this is something that y'all had to grow. You've had to grow up with. You've had to deal with.
Right.
Let's talk about the whole baiting issue.
Yeah, let's talk baiting, bait or not to bait, baiting or not to bait. You know, it's. I did a little quick research here, not as much as I wanted to for the show, but you know, took a quick look. In our country currently, there are 24 states that allow baiting of deer, you know, in one form or fashion. Maybe they have different restrictions on it, but they still allow baiting of some type. Now, that's to say there are states who don't allow baiting of deer, but they allow baiting of bears. Now, okay, please explain that to me. Or in Alabama's case, what really pushed it was they wanted to allow baiting for feral swine, wild pigs. But as one of the congressmen or senators made the statement of, we tried it with the idea in mind of only pigs, but the deer just would not read the sign that said no deer allowed on the corn.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's exactly right.
They're going to come in. So the premise was for them, let's try and figure out how to control the pig population. But the deer are going to come to the corn. So now if the guy is hunting a pig and deer comes in and game warden comes up, how do you differentiate whether or not he was going to shoot the deer or if he's waiting on pigs to come in? There's no way of knowing. So they have decided to try and open that state up to baiting. Now, like I said, I've been gone for quite some time. And while I was gone, they actually allowed what they called supplemental feeding, which was similar to what Mississippi was doing, where you could have the feed 100 yards away, and it had to be behind some natural structure of vegetation or trees or whatever. Now, you call that what you want, but that's baiting. All right?
Yeah.
Hands down, that is baiting. Any guy with a rifle, he puts his feeder off the side of his food plot, his field, pasture, power line, pipeline, 100 yards away, and he's just going to shoot the deer walking to it. What the hell were they thinking? That's already baiting. Right. You've already legalized baiting, all right? Now, I grew up in a time where it was 100% illegal. You couldn't have corn on the... Listen, if the game warden come up on you and he found that you was on a trail going to a corn pile, he was writing you a ticket. It didn't even have to be on your property.
Yeah.
Now, how do you determine John next door's got a supplemental feed barrel over there, and I'm not on John's property, but I'm sitting 60 yards away on my property. John's got his supplemental deal over. He's 100 yards away. Legally, am I going to get a ticket because I'm within 100 yards of this, and I got deer going right to it? Excuse me there.
Yeah, really.
So, really and truthfully, I'm breaking the law. So, the most asinine, stupid thing you could do is come up with that rule. Now, Mississippi had that same rule up to just recently, basically, that it had to be 100 yards away and out of sight. And I think they've now went, you know what? This is just dumb.
Yes.
All right. So here Alabama is again at the bottom of the barrel with their ideas. But now, supposedly the House passed it. The Senate's got to approve it. But it's still stupid. So now in their infinite wisdom, here's what they're going to do. And we're going to get into whether you should or shouldn't hear it a little bit and some of the things. But let's just run this down real quick. They're going to allow you to move this thing out at 100 yards and put it out in the open in front of your deer blind, and now you can shoot deer directly out from underneath it. Okay, big deal. You were already doing that anyway, all right? So now I can shoot them out from underneath it, but now we're legalizing baiting. Well, or we're going to call it baiting, but we're going to legalize it for one class of hunter, the rifle hunter. What about the guy with a shotgun who don't own a rifle? And now if he gets within 100 yards of it, he gets a ticket.
Yes.
The bow hunter, who dang sure ain't going to be shooting no 100 yards. I mean, now we're going to pick and choose who gets to bait, okay? And furthermore, the only state that I know of right now, and I could be totally wrong because I did not do a whole lot of research on it. If anybody knows any different out there, please let us know. They can email it in.
You can email us at radio@undefineradio.com. Put Camo and Ammo in the subject line.
All right. So what happens now is now we're going to charge you, we're going to tax you, we're going to charge you another fee because the state of Alabama's broke. All right. They don't know how to manage their money. All right. Now by the way, $1.2 million to $1.5 million a year is what they think this is going to bring in. We're going to charge you an extra fee per bait site. So if you own 1,000 acres and you want to put out 10 feeders, 20 feeders, or whatever you're going to put out, or whatever the state is going to call a bait site, okay? It don't have to be a feeder per se. They're going to charge you an individual fee for each one so they can make more money. Now, that's the most asinine thing I've heard because here is where, in their infinite wisdom, they have no clue what they're doing. If you legalize it, you open it up, the taxes alone on what people are going to buy in feeders, buy in additional equipment, game cameras, whatever. If they're going to be hog hunting, lights that come on when the motion sensor lights when the hogs come on. When the hogs come in. The extra trips they're going to make and burn in fuel and food and other tax issues to go back and forth to take care of feeders and bait stations and whatever you want to call it will far exceed this measly, pitiful little bit of fee you want to put on it. So you're passing up, because when you do that, now you get guys who go, so you know what, I'm just going to do it without paying for it. They're going to have to catch me. I'm not paying, which I wouldn't. I mean, I don't blame them. I don't know of another state that does that. Now, we've lived in Texas, both of us.
Yeah.
I've hunted in Texas a lot. I've hunted overfeeders there, not overfeeders there. So I bring a perspective of the common everyday man of it was never been legal to where it was legal. I brought my self-perceived notions of what it means to bait and hunt over bait when I went to Texas. And I'm going to have to be first to admit I was totally wrong, okay? And I learned a lot. But I was wrong in my notion that it's like shooting fish in a barrel, it's easy, it's not hunting. All that is totally not true.
That's right. Just because you pull out corn or you bait doesn't mean you're going to see deer and doesn't mean you're going to kill anything.
Well, and here's the thing. Once you legalize it from that perspective, and I'm just talking about from a legalization perspective, and you level the playing field. So everybody's got corn out or everybody's got bait out, Everybody's got a feeder, a protein station. Look, I'm going to tell you something. You ain't got it, you ain't killing them, okay? Because that's where they're going.
That's right.
I mean, and everybody around you's got it. And unless you've got thousands and thousands of acres and you've got your deer fenced off from your neighbors, you're up against that battle. And you learn real quick that, man, this sucks. Because you just don't get that opportunity. You're not going to see the amount of deer that you see using them, because that's where they're going, and you're without. Now, let's jump off that for a second, and let's get back to what's the difference, all right? My whole life, we've been able to do all the above. I can plant peanuts and leave them in the field. I can plant a field full of soybean and leave beans out from to eat. I can leave corn standing for them to come in and eat. I can plant sweet potatoes. I can plant choofers. Plant. None of which is naturally growing out there in those woods on that power line, that pipeline, that 5-acre food plot we've cut out of the woods, or that road we've turned into a food plot. At the end of the day, Chad, it's still baiting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, we're baiting, we're planting. Look, I planted peas. I planted all kind of things. What is the difference than putting up a feeder or putting in some sort of bait station? To me, it's the same. So if you're going to allow one, you might as well allow the other. Now, you are not going to charge the guy to go out here and do all this planting and put this in the ground, but now you want to charge this other guy extra money. Now, to me, that's just discrimination. Plain and simple, it's discrimination. It's discrimination against the bow hunter. It's discrimination against the shotgun hunter. It's discrimination against the kid who can't shoot 100 yards, who's just learning how to hunt, and he's probably got about a 50-yard range with his rifle that's comfortable. I think it's all wrong. They're going about it the wrong way. All right, if you're going to open it up, open it up. Man up and open it up, and quit hiding behind your little reasons that you're doing it. Now, does it hurt or does it help? There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of people, one, who hate the idea of it. Hunters and non-hunters alike. Some of the stuff I've read. The chronic wasting disease is spreading across this country. And everybody says, oh, it causes chronic wasting disease. It's going to cause a spread of chronic wasting disease. Look, I've hunted Colorado and Wyoming, all dealing with chronic wasting disease. None of them allow baiting. It's in their elk herds. It's in their mule deer herds. It's in their whitetail herds. So obviously your argument that baiting is going to cause this problem, you're totally wrong. There's no discussing it. There's no two ways about it. That's not going to cause it. That's not even going to spread it. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. And it is spreading across this country. It's come across the north. It's trying to work its way south. You know, it's Mother Nature. Call it taking care of its own, whatever, trying to keep things in balance. I don't know, because we're trying to balance everything. You know, we're trying to balance the herds. Colorado's trying to manage its herds one way. Wyoming's doing it another. New Mexico, Texas. Everybody's managing their own thing, right?
Sure.
So Mother Nature's going to get in there and try. We're screwing it up, so let's go ahead. I'm going to fix it. Why it's there and why it's spreading, I am not a biologist, but I will tell excuse me. I will tell you this. Texas has been baiting for how many years?
Oh, my God. Ever since I can remember, ever since I started hunting.
Louisiana, baiting. Let's see. Mississippi has had some form of baiting, call it what you want, for quite some time. Florida's had it for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, and they don't have this problem, so that's a moot point. That is not even open. To me, to anybody that brings that up, it's just way off base. Now, their thought process that it caused it to spread faster, like I said, these other states have had it. They've 24 states and counting. If Alabama legalizes what they're going to call the legal version of baiting, even though they're already baiting, and they've been baiting since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't see that that's going to make it. You know what? And guess what? They don't have it. Mississippi don't have it. Florida doesn't have it. Louisiana doesn't have it. I've heard some rumors that maybe it's in Texas. I do not know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I have not yet read it, and I need to do some research on it and look into it. But you know, maybe they do. Maybe it's getting there finally. But that's just a natural progression. It's coming from Colorado, New Mexico, coming that way. The border of New Mexico. It's hard not to get it. if it's going to move within nature. So that's where we're at now. Is it ethical? Is it right? Is it an unfair advantage? That's a whole. I mean, it's a whole list of issues we could go down here.
Sure.
And I know we tried to do 30-minute shows here, and we kind of had this discussion that this could get carried on and on and on. It's definitely something we're going to talk about in upcoming shows,
Yes, we
especially
are.
prior to next year. I just want to see what the Alabama legislature is going to do on it. I think Mississippi finally saw the light, and they said, you know what, this is just stupid. Let's just open it up and let's.
Yeah.
Now, when I was hunting over here and they had the 100-yard rule, what I did like some things that Mississippi was doing was that you couldn't just feed corn all the time. And I agree with that. I agree that you need to have some protein feeds and some other things and that you should have to be feeding. Just to feed corn all the time, it's 6 to 9% protein, folks. I mean, come on. It's a carbohydrate. It converts to fat because it converts to a sugar, and yeah, it puts fat on the deer. But all you're doing is you're supplementing what they're feeding on already. And I think you're doing them less good. If you really want to get down to it, I think you're doing less good than you would be to feeding them a better mixture of feed that's got some protein base to it. That's more than 6 or 9% or whatever, and that varies. So
Absolutely.
a lot.
All right, we got to take a quick break.
Absolutely.
Give our little love to our sponsor, Downrange Calls. When we come back, we'll get into this a little bit because I found a cool little article, and that's a few years old. But I thought it was very telling on which states allow baiting, which states don't, and variations of baiting in each state, which is interesting.
We could really get down into a lot of conversation on that.
That's right. So we're going to pick out a few of these and talk about them.
You got it.
Right on the other side of this break. Thank you for tuning in to Camo and Ammo on UndefinedRadio.com.
You can have your own handmade duck call from Downrange Calls, handcrafted from imported exotic woods for a look you won't find anywhere else. Nick Snyder and Jerry Rogers are ready to fulfill your desire for a call that is ready to display and ready to hunt. Contact them on Facebook at Downrange Duck Calls. Take time to check out their gallery and videos demonstrating the versatility of these calls. Check them out today. Get your call and be ready with a handmade downrange call when dawn breaks. Downrange Calls, Mooreville, Mississippi, on Facebook at Downrange Duck Calls.
And welcome back to UndefinedRadio.com. You are listening to Camo and Ammo. Man, yeah, this is, but you're talking about baiting though, David. I mean, it's, like you said, I grew up in Texas hunting. It's always been a part of my hunting life.
That's right.
Until I moved to Mississippi, to where there were much stricter laws at the time when I moved here.
Well, I think even probably, when you moved here, we couldn't bait in the state.
That's right.
So
yeah, because we used to. I mean, we were putting up feeders everywhere in Texas. We were even making them out of Coke bottles. I mean, hanging Coke bottles in the thing where the deer would have to bump them, and work for it. You couldn't just do it; they had to work for the feeder. So, and then when you moved to Mississippi, it was totally different. And now in 2015, they just said, "Okay, here we go."
Let's just and I think kudos to them. One, it clears up the law. It makes it simple. There's no question, for the game warden, there's no question for the hunter. Everybody knows it's okay what the rules really are. I read one deal that says, it says out of sight, not within sight of the hunter of 100 yards. If you stand on the ground, it's within sight, or if you're in a tree, maybe it's not within sight, or you're up the tree, you can see it, you're on the ground, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Which one's legal?
Exactly.
I mean, it's open for so much interpretation till it's bad blood between your law enforcement and your hunters, and legislators need to clean it up, and I think Mississippi did that.
Oh, yeah,
by just saying, hey, let's just do it. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, you got states like Rhode Island where it's not legal to feed deer or bait deer anything. You can't give them anything.
Right.
Now, again, this list is a few years old right now, so if they've updated it, and let us know.
Right. Well, I mean, we do like everybody else. We use the web, and we try to use the most, I don't know.
Yeah, recent stuff you can find.
Whatever, yeah.
You got to do some research, and that's what we've tried to do here. But, I mean, like you look at Texas we've talked about, Utah, you can feed bait deer anytime you want to. It doesn't have to be just on private land or anything.
Well, and then some states allow you to have bait out or feed out up until 10 days before the season.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to allow somebody to put feed out, allow them to put feed out. Okay, period, the end. Because number one, you've already got your animals trained, and they're already coming into that area. They're hanging out in that area, whatever you want to call it. But let them do it, or it's okay on this land, but not okay on that land. Some of them are. It's okay in zone 1, but not okay in zone 2.
Yeah. Now, have you ever heard of something called Lucky Buck Mineral? You know what that is?
Yeah, I have, and it's a bucket. It's a mineral, supposedly a mineral thing, but it's like anything else. Hey, it's a mineral with a mixture of, like a lot of them do, probably with some sweet stuff in it. But I think doesn't have grains or something in it, so it's considered a mineral. If I pour all kind of minerals in with molasses, is it a mineral block or is it bait? Okay. I call that bait. To start with, I call the whole thing bait. If I put a mineral block out where there is not naturally there, and I'm putting out minerals maybe they don't essentially normally get in that area, and I'm allowing him those, then it's bait.
Yeah, that's salt licks or anything.
Exactly. I call it all baiting. To throw a salt block out there, to throw a mineral block out there, to throw a lucky buck, to throw any other thing out there, a deer feed block, anything, is baiting.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
And it's funny, like Wisconsin, it is legal to feed and bait deer with anything, including, this is why I asked about the Lucky Buck Mineral. But that has a 2-gallon limit that you can use. Right. In all counties except the following, and there are like 15, 20 counties here where you just can't do it, and the rest of them you can. So it's not a statewide thing. It's just dependent.
And that's what I'm saying. Right now, the best I can tell, we're at 24 states who allow baiting of some form or fashion with limitations on it. Like I said, I can go to Colorado and bait deer. I mean, not bait deer, excuse me, scratch that. And I can't remember if they allow bear baiting there or not. But let's just say, for instance, I can go into a state and I can put a bait station up for bear, and I can hunt bear over a baited barrel as close as I want to be there, but they don't allow the deer hunters.
Why?
Exactly. What's the difference? Or, oh my God, you can't bait elk. Well, Farmer Brown, who has a guide service on his farm, who plants alfalfa fields and don't cut them, and leaves standing alfalfa for the elk to come down out of the mountains when they're coming down, and especially when the snow starts pushing them down, to come in because it's going to hold the herd on his farm or his ranch to come in and feed, and hunters to come in there and shoot those elk, is just as much baiting as a guy that took a bale of alfalfa up the mountain and put it out.
That's true. Very true.
I don't see where there's a difference, because the alfalfa is not naturally growing out there. We planted it, and you planted it for that reason.
Exactly. Now, we've only got a few minutes left, so let me ask you this. What is the reason, do you think, that these states that don't allow baiting, what is the sole reason behind that? Is there a sole reason, or is it a pretty multi-purpose reason they don't allow it?
I think it's a multi-purpose reason. I think a lot of it is perception, that it makes it too easy, or takes the sport out of it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't do that in some ways, or doesn't make it easier. What I do think that it does, though, it offers us some advantages. But I think from their perception, what I can get, the pushback is, one, is public perception. And a lot of that comes from people who just don't want you hunting anyway. It has no bearing as to whether it's baiting or not. It's just something to fight hunters on.
Yeah.
And then the other is that it takes the sport out of it, and that comes from within the hunt community itself. And I was one of those, okay? I see advantages and disadvantages to both sides of this. I'm very passionate about it, if you cannot tell.
A little bit.
I'm very passionate about it. A lot of it comes from ignorance, and that's what it was. Ignorance and not understanding what baiting can do or what it can't do, and how it can help or how it can hurt. Man, and I'm on both sides of the fence on it. I'm not going to not call it like it is. I think there's an advantage to it, and I think there's disadvantages to it. And that's why I say this is not a 30-minute topic. This is definitely something we could carry right on into next week or another show. But there is definitely a positive to it. In Alabama's situation, they're already overpopulated. And I think until you can show people how many deer they got on their property and how many excess does they're carrying, they're not going to shoot them. I think this will help them see that. And I think this will make some people get off their behinds and start harvesting and trying to control. Look, there's a difference in thinking you're feeding 5 kids and thinking you're feeding 15 kids. Right?
Oh, yeah. Huge difference.
So, man, that's a lot of money to put out there trying to feed all them mouths and trying to keep them going. And they cleaning you up, and you can't keep corn out, you can't, or whatever out, but you can't keep your corn out because that's what 95% of people going to feed.
Yeah, and you're talking about a legit farmer out there who's trying to grow his crops, and you got these herd of deer out there who's wiping them out.
He knows that problem that's there. It's like Iowa farmers will tell you. They know they got deer. They know it because they tear up acres. Alabama farmers are the same way. But it puts it in the eyes of the average everyday guy who's not in the woods all the time. He doesn't see what's going on because he's only there every other weekend or maybe once, maybe only 4 times, whatever he's going to be there. He's going to see him on his camera. He's going to see him coming in, and he's going to go, you know what? They're right. I got too many dead blasted deer. Look, I got 6 spikes under my feeder today. I need to start clearing out some spikes because these ain't newborns. These are 2 and 3, 4-year-old spikes.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it until they can see them. So I think that's an advantage. But boy, I see both sides of the pie here. I mean, it is. You can split it down the middle. I think in Mississippi, Mississippi or Alabama. One of them they did a poll on it. Was 62% was in favor. So that's how close it was.
Yeah.
62%. That's not a large margin.
No,
Chad.
it's not. It's really not. I mean, you got almost half your population of hunters that disagree with it, or whatever, half your voters.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's knowledge, and they need to read and understand. Or you know what? That is wrong. Excuse me. You don't need to read and understand. They need to get off their butts, and they need to go out here and see it firsthand.
Absolutely.
And they need to go into states that have been doing it and see firsthand. But they need to try it in their state, and they need to see it firsthand.
Yeah, because, I mean, you have to have a form of population control with these things. We talked about it earlier with the gross waste disease. I mean,
right.
You can't let things get out of hand, or Mother Nature's going to set it straight for you.
It's going to set it. And chronic waste disease is not the only thing in the world. And you know what? Probably not the first time we've ever had it. It's probably made its rounds before.
Yeah.
It's just now it's a big thing. I don't want it in my herd more than anybody else, but if you're going to maintain and sustain hunting, you've got to find a way to make that happen. And one, like I said, I think it's a revenue for the state that they're looking at it wrong. You need to look at it from that standpoint. If revenue is what they're looking at baiting for, then they're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
They can make more money other ways.
That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time again for this week's episode of Camo and Ammo. We appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, this is Chad.
This is David.
And we will talk to you next week.
I'd rather be waist deep in some old creek water, sitting in a tree stand, certified deer stalker. But right now I'm busting my ass on this 9 to 5. But you better believe when the season's change. If it's brown, it's down. If it flies, it dies. If you're gonna hunt, you gotta do it right. Shotgun or rifle, you ready to go? Camo and